Hello and welcome to Last Mixtape. My name's Stephen White, and on this week's show, we turn our lens to how Lankum's version of Ghost Town recaptures the moment forged by the original. But first, my words, but the sound of legendary two-tone act, The Specials. Why, dear listener, and indeed, dear viewer, were we just listening to the sounds of Ghost Town at the top of this week's show? Well, this week, I thought we'd delve into Lankum's brand new cover of the song and explore the socio-political and economic background of the track itself in 1981 and its meaning here in Ireland and abroad in 2025. And as always, The Last Mixtape is very much a culture, arts and music podcast, so we look at everything through that lens and through the lens of vibes and vibes alone. So delve in with me as we explore the background and the current context of Ghost Town. Britain, 1981, was burning. Brixton, Toxteth, Mosside, each had the same headline, the same fire. A country convulsing through unemployment, austerity and the sharp edge of Thatcher's new order. Then, in the middle of it all, the charts had a new number one. But it wasn't the slick, boomer-orientated nostalgia rock of its predecessor, Shakin' Stevens' Green Door. Instead, it was far more dangerous to both the political and the musical establishment. The reality of 80s Britain came echoing through the sirens of an empty city. Punk may have been dead, but something new was rising from the ashes. The Specials, a multicultural band born out of Britain's two-tone scene, captured something that was happening on the streets. A country unravelling in public, a youth turning to music for answers, for expression and for meaning. In an era when the National Front was marching through English towns, an anti-racist act like the Specials were making a statement. Black and white musicians standing side by side, playing ska and punk as twin resistance. When guitarist vocalist Linville Golding would say, "Because we are multiracial, we want to see people live together the same way we work on our music." It was a challenge to society cleaving along colour lines. By locating themselves musically in Jamaican ska and British punk, by recasting the sounds of West Indian immigrants into Coventry's youth reality, the Specials offered a sound that was British and Caribbean, working class and hopeful. In a country where the far right marched and unemployment knocked at every door, their very formation spoke louder than some protest songs ever could. The two-tone movement, of which the Specials were the spearhead, sought to change the cultural map of who Britain was. Ghost Town was a document of all the boarded shopfronts, welfare queues, the demolition of the working class, racial tensions and the metallic cry of desolation still lingering in Thatcher's Britain. Jerry Dammers, who wrote the song, wanted it to sound like something close to the soundtrack of physical decay. The composition itself, skeletal synth moans, restrained horns, and a tempo that felt reminiscent of a dance turned into a funeral march. The organ's long cathedral wail, the way the siren sounds and breaks into the mix. The vocals that half tell, half announce. This town is coming like a ghost town. Bands will play no more. It reads like reportage. When Ghost Town charted, it landed in a moment when cities were literally on fire. The song amplified a mood already taking hold. Now, decades later, in a different country, another band picks up the melody and listens for different ghosts. Dublin quartet Lankum's Ghost Town originally conceived for choreographer Ona Doherty's dance piece Specky Clark. This version reaches into the thematic ashes of the Specials and reforges the industrial, ghostly two-tone reverberations of 1981 with the group's earthly, ethereal tones seen on acclaimed records like 2023's False Lankum, turning the funeral dance of the original into something like a wake. Challenged by Doherty to reimagine the line, "All the clubs have been closed down," Lankum's Ghost Town shifts to Dublin in 2025, a city choked by housing crisis, rising right-wing anti-immigration violence and the slow death of cultural spaces. Musically, the shift is seismic, found in the crawling, folk drone of Lankum sound. The tempo drags like a shutter door shutting. The familiar horns and ska beat vanish, and in their place is the weight of their absence and something new. Then the finale hits as Lankum themselves expand beyond their own boundaries. Synthesizer rumble, drum machine thump, a last gasp and cacophony of sound that closes the song on a sonic collapse in slow motion. If the original Ghost Town sounded like Britain telling its own story of decay, Lankum resounded as Ireland's story of decay 4 decades later. When the song says, "This town is coming like a ghost town," it isn't Coventry just in 1981 anymore. Indeed, as someone once said, the future isn't new, it's old. And yes, before we get into it, I should discuss one huge elephant in the room when it comes to the legacy of Ghost Town. And that is Arthur Matthews' legendary TV show, Father Ted. Now, there is quite an iconic scene in that TV show in which Ghost Town is played in lieu of a national anthem at a DJ set at a kind of a disco type thing, in which the DJ has no other records but Ghost Town, and it's kind of played on and on. So it's kind of now standing for your national anthem. I'm sure you've seen the clip. I'm sure you're fully aware of it. And yes, that has somewhat followed the track to both its detriment and to both its success. People obviously may have been introduced to the song through that very episode and through that moment. I wasn't. My family, my mom's side of the family especially, were into ska music and two-tone, so I would have heard Ghost Town way before that. But for a lot of people it could have been, and for a lot of people that's maybe the association they have with it. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, but I said I would mention it at the top of the show. And a shout out as well to an incredible record release about 8 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago, by an act called Rusangano Family, coming out of Limerick, which is rappers God Knows and Merly, as well as DJ My Name is John. They made an incredible record called Let the Dead Bury the Dead. And during that time, during my review of that, I likened it to a ghost town of Ireland in the 21st century. And it very much is a document both of the Irish experience and immigrants in this country, and connecting how they feel, their experiences, what they've experienced as immigrants in Ireland. It's incredibly important. Do check it out. It's an incredible Irish album. So if you're listening from abroad, you never heard of Rusangano Family or God Knows Merly or My Name is John, do check them out, and do check out Let the Dead Bury the Dead. I think it is something of a spiritual cousin to Ghost Town itself in album form, and indeed about the Irish experience too. So Ghost Town itself, told in 2 different times in 2 different cities, and still as meaningful as it was when it was written in 1981 by Jerry Dammers, as it is now performed by Lankum. And I think what the thing about this song that strikes me the most, and has always struck me the most, I think it is one of the great songs of the 20th century, and like no other, it feels like reportage, it feels like a documentary, it feels like a document of a time, and I think that's why it resonates in a time of immense sheen. It was something that was quite gritty. I think there's kind of not an obviousness, but kind of an obviousness to Lankum covering this song, especially as an act like them, reimagining it through the trad folk Irish kind of lens. Obviously towards the end there is this more experimental edge to the track, which kind of winds it up or winds it down, whichever way you want to look at it. But the meaning of the song is incredibly potent to both times. That is quite a sad thing when you think about it in a lot of ways. Art is not a luxury item, and indeed it is ingrained in the very culture and identity of the place that it is made. If artists do not have the space and cannot afford to, and are not funded to create art, then indeed bands will play no more. All the clubs will be closed down. Those are 2 things. They're like the canary down the coal mine in a lot of ways. It was when art itself is oppressed by economics, is oppressed by capitalism itself. People, as I say, see art as very much a luxury item. It is not. It has an economic value, for one. It brings people into the country in which it is made. People want to experience things that are being created, whether they are modern, whether they are from the past, whether they are historical. They want to experience those things from the people who are there. And indeed, such is the case with art. It says a lot about it. I was just talking about Rusangano and Let the Dead Bury the Dead. That is very much a document of Limerick and very much a document of Ireland at the time. And indeed, so are albums like Skinty Fia by Fontaines. We were also talking about records like CMAT and Euro Country as well. These are all records and pieces of art that speak to a time, and people come to Ireland either to see those bands play live or come to Ireland because they want to experience more of that art. They want to see more of that art. Obviously, we have a great history with writers, Beckett, Wilde, people like that, James Joyce, obviously. And indeed, all of those things are a culmination. Nobody in their wildest dreams comes to a country so they can look at rich landlords. They don't come on planes or they don't come on boats or whatever to visit Ireland to be a tourist here and say, do you know what I really want to see? A bunch of fat, rich Irish people and fucking landlords fucking making a load of money. That's what we really come here to Ireland is. Nobody gives a fuck about those people outside of those fucking people or the people that they hurt. So the idea that art has no kind of meaning other than to be a luxury is completely wrong. And therefore to defund it, or therefore to not put funds towards it and kind of put it to one side in the kind of the aftermath and the decay of the socio-political and socio-economic backdrop of Ireland itself is incredibly hurtful. These are people who create, who need to be given the space to create and who need to be given the economic backing to create, because in and of itself it is an investment in Ireland, whilst landlords are not an investment in Ireland. And that's the thing about Ghost Town, and that's the thing about why it resonates with Ireland. And you can see why, in a way, Lankum, it makes sense. Obviously they were doing it for Doherty's dance piece as well, but the reason why they picked Lankum and they honed in on all the clubs are being closed down and the line and kind of expressing that is because it has incredible meaning. When you have cities like Dublin, like Cork, Waterford, Limerick, Belfast, I'm sure all around the country, where they are becoming nothing more than a husk of people kind of working just to make rent, just for landlords. All the culture in that becomes squeezed. We saw that in For Those I Love's incredible record. We were exploring that when we were talking about that, the space and the meaning and the hurt it creates, not just to artists, but to the people there. And those people there are the people who consume art. If nobody can afford it, if nobody can go to see it, it all kind of connects in with one another. And that kind of feeling of it becoming a ghost town, there is no life outside that of working to make money for landlords or working to make money for rent. And it is very much a government that doesn't care about it. Neither side really seems to be engaged in it at all. I know a lot of people might point to some political party that might say that they are, but nobody actually does anything. And that's the frustration you see. I was watching just the other day, a woman was talking on the radio and she was saying, like, what are people supposed to do? I believe she was maybe in her 20s coming into her 30s, and she was saying to the radio DJ or whatever, what are people supposed to do? There's the rising rents have risen exponentially. Like, all people are doing is making money, and it goes straight out to landlords and goes straight out to people like that. And there's no future. And if there is no future, what are people living in the present for? And what does that mean for the country as a whole? You cannot leave the place become a ghost town. The specials capture that brilliantly in 1981 in Coventry. It's a city I've been to, it's a city I visited, and itself was one that was racked by the damage of World War II. And then obviously economics hit it with the factories there. I believe it was motor factories, the whole place. And England as well during the 1980s. I've seen, obviously we've spoken about it before, the recession here in Ireland and that's effect on it. But also it says something about the immigrant experience as well. As we said on the show, the Specials were a multicultural band who were anti-racist. You only have to look also here at Ireland at some of the damage being caused by the far right and their violent attacks on immigrant centres, and indeed only recently an arson attack on one which could have hurt people, which could have burned children alive. And it's interesting then how the people who are the genuine concerns people, those fucking people who themselves are bootlickers for fucking landlords, fucking 9 times out of 10, who themselves put themselves right beside the BNP and the Nationalist Front of Britain, fucking ironically, are the genuine concerns people, have no genuine concerns when it comes to the burning alive of people in a house and children in a house and immigrants, have no genuine concerns when violent mobs encroach or engage on a place where those people and those vulnerable people are being kept. Those genuine concerns don't reach them, and they don't have genuine concerns when it comes to landlords making money out of this country, and they don't have genuine concerns when it comes to bands bands and artists and culture and bringing people into this country and creating something. They don't have those genuine concerns, because their genuine concerns are not fucking genuine, are they? Let's be fucking real. And those people are as much a part of places like Dublin, and obviously back in the 1980s, of what the Specials experience of becoming a ghost town, of becoming a husk, because those people would love nothing more for it to become a husk, because they're incredibly, dangerously unimaginative and incurious people. So that is why Lankum's version of it is resonant in very much an economic and cultural and social way. I'm sure now, I don't know the band personally, and I'm sure they have very many thoughts on their standing in amongst that, and even artists standing in amongst that and what should be said. But art is often, as we've said on this show, a mirror. And it's very interesting that Ghost Town, being brought back up, has that kind of connection, has such a strong connection with what is happening in Ireland right now. How music can traverse decades and even countries and even bands and sounds and genres. Now, obviously, I would love to hear, and we were talking about Rusangano Family and Let the Dead Bury the Dead. I would even put Euro Country in this, and the kind of spiritual successors to Ghost Town. Songs that don't speak about the broad politics of something, but speak about the on-the-ground reality for the people living within the politics of others. The original Ghost Town by the Specials catalogued Britain's unravelling in 1981. Lankum transcribes the same lament for Ireland today. We are in the death rattles of late-stage capitalism, and maybe unbeknownst to the Specials, they were documenting the first signpost to the present. Since then, generations of working class people all over the world have become no stranger to the collapse of promises. The Celtic Tiger may have roared, but then it faltered. Houses vanished, families uprooted, housing prices soared, rents suffocated. All of this can be traced through art, the true roadmap of the world. But now, the ability to make art is strangled by people simply not having a place to live and call their own. It sounds dystopian to say, but the same rumble under our feet that cracked and fell generations ago has been left dormant and left behind. Instead, people are expected to scratch a living from its very wreckage. Coventry in the 80s, Dublin in the present. A shared tale of two cities on many levels. When Ghost Town was written in 1981, it was by a multicultural two-tone group from Britain, against the backdrop of a rising unemployment, the insidious rise of violent far-right groups that preyed on people's social and economic fears and engaged in racist attacks, dividing and conquering while the privileged looked from on high, distant and removed. The Specials emerged from Britain, where far-right marches and nationalist front rallies threatened entire communities. The band itself, black and white musicians playing side by side, was an act of both expression and resistance. Today in Dublin, tensions are rising again, though in a different form. Migrant and asylum seeker accommodations have been targeted by protests, vandalism and intimidation. Scapegoating and far-right dog whistles of exclusion echo through neighbourhoods and insidious corners of the media, just as the National Front, associates of the Irish far-right ironically, once did in Britain all those decades ago. Fast forward to Ireland in 2025, and these same pressures are being framed by some as threats to the static us. Protests against migrant accommodation has turned violent, arson, mobs, nationalist flags and threats have become commonplace. Whether it's Dublin, London, Paris or New York, there's a group in every city that could reimagine this same song and apply it to themselves in a modern context. Lankum puts the Specials through the lens of modern Ireland, and it's up to us to interpret and reflect on its relevance and its meaning today. Because the more things change, the more they stay the same. So it goes, and there it went. The Specials, Lankum, Ghost Town, 1981, 2025, economic and political decay in decades and centuries. But what do you think? Do you love the original from the Specials? Do you think Ghost Town is one of the great songs of the 20th century? Did you listen to it first when it came out? Did you listen to it retrospectively? What do you think of Lankum's brand new cover of the track? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think its context and its meaning still has resonance today in 2025 Ireland, or wherever you are watching or listening from? Please comment below and let me know. And as always, thank you very much for watching The Last Mixtape and supporting the brand new channel here for the last year. It has meant a lot to me, and if you could like and subscribe this video if you haven't, I'll be forever grateful. And hey, see you next week.